Hi, everybody. Hi, Monty. I see you're still joining. You're not here yet. Welcome, everybody, to the Continental Confidential Live. And it is December 2nd, and my special guest today is going to be Monte Warden of the Wagoneers and the Dangerous Few. And we'll be talking about all of that as soon as he gets in here. And there you are. And there you are. Hi, Monty. I don't have any sound on you. Do you have audio on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ah, hello, Diane.
Hi. How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to see you here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
You've been keeping busy, huh?
Yeah, we've been blessed. We've, put out a record and doing the live streams. And, so far, this is my all-time favorite pandemic.
Well, that's because you just don't remember the Spanish flu well enough.
No, not as well as I should.
We're going to start off with a couple of questions that I ask everybody.
Okay.
And here's your first one. Tell us about your first gig.
Wow. My very first time I was playing guitar in front of people, I was at a Buddy Holly Memorial Society convention in Lubbock, Texas in 1979, I guess. I was 11 or 12 and played a couple of Buddy Holly songs. But it was the first time I'd ever played guitar in front of people and sang. And boy, when that applause hit, that was all I needed right there.
You were hooked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so was guitar your first instrument?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We always had a guitar around the house growing up, but never really played it. And then when I was about 11 years old, just kind of took it out of the closet and went down to Ray Hennig's and bought a Mel Bay how to play chord book. And even though I was left-handed, the book said you hold the guitar this way, and I didn't know, you could do it otherwise. And that's how the guys I saw on American Bandstand held their guitars, and so I just always learned to play right-handed.
And so is that still your only instrument, or do you play other instruments now?
No, I play piano enough to write. Actually, in a lot of stuff for the Dangerous Few project, Brandy and I have written on the keyboards, because writing traditional pop and jazz, so many of those songs are actually written on the piano, mm-hmm. But also the voicings and the different chords are so much easier to find, I have found, on the piano than on the guitar. And I play the bass a little bit to, because sometimes you need to on demos and stuff. But I would never call myself a bassist. I mean, shit, most people wouldn't call me a guitar, so.
And while we're on the subject of you playing guitar, you hold your guitar awfully high.
Well, yes, I do.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah, I didn't used to, like in the early days of Whoa Trigger and the Wagoneers, I held it down like around my waist like most guitar players do. Uh-huh. And when I started playing sessions, I played on quite a few demo sessions when I was writing up in Nashville, even though I always lived in Austin. My publishers were up in Nashville. I found for me that if I had the guitar here like this, like if I have it crooked up, locked in my arm, almost like how you shoot, uh-huh. It helps me keep time a lot better. And,
interesting.
And I always thought, Johnny Cash held his guitar like that because I thought it looked cool. And then once I started playing that way, I realized, oh, it's probably just because it's easier to keep time. And not just keep time, Diane, but really lay a heavy rhythm. Because like my first band didn't even have a drummer. We had it was just two guitars and upright bass. And so heavy, very percussive rhythm is required, and that's certainly how I play.
Yes, it is.
And it looks cool.
Yeah, and it looks cool too. It does definitely kind of set you apart from other guitar players as well, because most guitar players don't play that high up on the body. They tend to be.
It took some getting used to, but because I don't play lead, and it just made me, from the very first time I tried it, a much stronger rhythm player. And like I said, my style is very, very percussive. And the only downside really is, when you have your guitar down low and your fly's open, nobody knows. But if you have your guitar up here, you got to make sure that's not going on.
I bet somebody would tell you.
Oh, I'm sure hundreds of people would tell me. Yeah, right.
It would be all over the internet.
Yeah, I have that to look forward to. Yeah.
So, Monte, your live streams have been going awfully well, haven't they?
Yes, we do them thank you for asking. We do them every Friday at 7 o'clock Central on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Monte Warden. I call it the Monte Warden Feel Good Hour. We do it from 7 to 8. We've done 36 straight Fridays. We hadn't missed a one. And I'll tell you, Dianne, those live streams, I mean, when this whole thing started, I mean, you know me. I mean, I just graduated up from a flip phone just a little while ago, and I can barely sign on to the internet, but these live streams have saved our ass. I don't know what we would have done otherwise, but by the grace of God, we didn't have to figure out what to do otherwise.
Right. And I think that's been the case for several musicians, that they didn't buy into it at first. But once they did, they saw a real value, not only monetarily, but also in keeping in contact with their fans and keeping that fan base alive.
Well, yes. And also I'll say this, because it's like, it's not the Travis County web, it's the World Wide Web. And,
right.
and we realized right away that we were able to connect with fans in Europe and Canada, all over the US. And,
right.
And whenever we go back to whatever normal is going to look like, I'm going to keep doing these live streams, because it has helped me to connect with an audience that, I might get over to Europe once every 2 years, but I can see these people every Friday,
Right. And I know that I've become rather addicted to doing these live stream interviews, and I will continue them indefinitely. I have no plans on stopping them. And partly because I have such a vast collection of musicians to get in that once a week is hardly enough.
Right. Well, and also, and let me just say this, that, and you have such a unique role where you have done so much good for so many musicians over such a long time that it's a deep well from which you can draw, because, well, Dianne, you were universally beloved, so
Thank you, Monte.
That's true.
Thank you. I have been very blessed that so far everybody that I have asked, except for one band that has not responded to me yet, but otherwise every band that I've asked has absolutely can't wait to do it.
Oh, right,
So
right. I mean, and everybody I know that has done it or is fixing to do it, we're all just flattered you asked, It's a neat deal. That's true.
Well, I'm trying to get in as many of the residency bands from our 3 venues and as many as possible of our regular touring bands as well.
Right.
And, it's like, it's part of, okay, we are coming back. We are opening again. Everybody that wants their residency when we open is going to still have it. And, so I want to keep everything alive as well. We want to keep people plugged into what's going on at the Continental Club Gallery, and Sea Boys Heart and Soul.
Right. So
let's move on to songwriting. What was the first song you ever wrote?
Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I'd always make up songs from just the time I was just a little kid, but like the first time I ever sat down with the guitar and wrote something that was real and had a structure, verse and chorus, is a song. Boy, I don't remember it, but I do remember the title. It was called Time, and it was, I was able to play that in front of people, and it got a good reaction out of people. Now, the first song I ever wrote that was good enough to play in front of people with the band and stuff, I reckon I was 14 when I wrote it, and it was called Short Order Fantasy, and it was, you know, it wound up being the very first jingle for Maudie's Cafe back when I think I got that gig when I was like 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know? So, yeah. Well, and I'll say this, and Margaret Moser was certainly, she played such an important role in my life and my career, but
right.
I was always able to write pretty good songs, but I was always, and to this day even, very focused on always trying to get better. And when the Austin music scene, even though I was, 14, and I guess Charlie Sexton was 13, and we were both maybe not as good as we should be, but we were as good as, little kids could be. We were serious about it. We were earnest about it. And everybody saw our potential to get a lot better fast, So, and songwriting has always been my number one passion, more than performing, more than recording. I still view myself as a songwriter first. I mean, and that's where I've had most of my success, but it's where most of my passion lies too.
And so Whoa Trigger was your first band, correct? Or was there another one before that?
It was my second band. My first band was just horrific, as any first band should be. It was called the Bolos, and Chip and Tony Kinman called them behind my back the Bozos, which was a far better name. But the first band that ever did anything was Whoa Trigger, and it had the same lineup as Elvis, Scotty, and Bill, or Johnny Cash and the Tennessee Two. Just two guitars, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, and a slap bass player. And we were this, you have to put it in context. This is 1982 and 83. Mm-hmm. And Austin was just, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a rockabilly band,
Right.
But what set us apart was we didn't have a drummer. So we had that authentic rockabilly lineup that years later High Noon took. And I'll tell you, as the leader of Whoa Trigger, I mentally limited the band. I thought, well, we can only just do this because we don't have a drummer. Mm-hmm. And then years later, when I saw what High Noon did, and they played jazz and they played bop, and those guys, that was the best three-piece rockabilly outfit I ever saw in my life.
Absolutely,
anyway,
absolutely the cream of the crop. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were incredible. So we had that lineup. We were young, we were cute. We did all original material that I had written. And I think so much, that there are very few recordings of Whoa Trigger that exist, and they don't sound very good. But also, the thing is, when you're a kid starting out, you have a shitty band, and you can only afford a shitty studio that has a shitty engineer, and so of course everything's going to sound shitty. But the band, we had a huge following right away, and we, just as far as local goes, we won Best New Band at the fledgling Austin Music Awards in like 83 or something. And it just put us on the map and allowed me to, to be a professional. I've been a professional performer since Whoa Trigger. It was a great blessing.
And at what point did Carlin Major come in as your manager? Was that still with Whoa Trigger, or was that not the Wagoneers?
No, I got to know Carlin from, Whoa Trigger would play Soap Creek Saloon, and she and George Majewski, her husband at the time, owned Soap Creek. And I thought, and still do, about the best band I ever saw, certainly in Austin at that time, was the original lineup of Rank and File. And I thought Rank and File was the most innovative, had the greatest original sound. I mean, it was like, now they would just be called Americana,
Right.
But at the time, they didn't know to call them cowpunk or,
right.
Punkabilly or anything like that. And they were just great, But for some reason or another, Chip and Tony, the Kinman brothers, and Al and Slim loved Whoa Trigger. And Whoa Trigger was put on some big rank and file shows. Like we were, rank and file did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday stand at the Continental, 2 shows a night, all 3 sold out, and Whoa Trigger opened every show. And
Nice.
and that put us in front of hundreds of people right away. And so Carlin took notice of me then, and then Whoa Trigger broke up, and I just continued to write and stayed in touch with Carlin. And then Carlin managed she managed Rank and File, and then she went. Another band that opened for Rank and File was Maria McKee and Lone Justice.
Mm-hmm.
She managed Lone Justice out of Los Angeles.
Right.
And then once she was finished managing Lone Justice and Rank and File had broken up, she was looking for the next act. And just then, this is the 80s, late 86, early 87, the Wagoneers got together. And, you know, we played our first gig at Steamboat in February of 87. And we did the first South by Southwest in March of 87. And we were signed to A&M by August. I mean, like we had a deal within 6 months of our first gig. It was really just kind of a whirlwind deal, but Carlin certainly knew what she was doing. She's a brilliant manager, the best eye for raw talent I've ever seen. I mean, Carlin, you know, she discovered Rank and File. She did and Marsha Ball and me and Maria McKee and Kelly Willis and Bruce Robinson. And she was just that eye for just raw talent. And so many, if you think about it, I'm just thinking this out loud, everybody with whom she worked and managed has had a brilliant career and only done this professionally. So she's really something special. I think one of the great unsung heroes of what made the Austin music scene what it is today and what I hope will continue to be. She's just brilliant manager.
I agree completely. Yeah. So your songwriting progressed along the way, and between Whoa Trigger and the Wagoneers, were any of the songs that you wrote then placed with anybody of note that recorded anything?
Well, I did write that jingle for Marty's Cafe. No, I didn't have any. I didn't get any cuts. I didn't actually start getting cuts till after the Wagoneers. But keep in mind, I was 19 years old.
Right.
But I can say this because I'd working with Carlin. She would listen to my songs, and when I was 18, this has been in 85, I had written some real good songs. And I had made enough noise with Whoa Trigger. Carlin got me a meeting with the head of BMI at the time, a guy named Roger Sovine, Red Sovine's son.
Uh-huh.
And I know you know Mr. Sovine. So Mr. Sovine was head of BMI in Nashville. And I had a meeting with him. And like I said, I was 18. And you have to look at it at that time. 18-year-olds didn't show up in Nashville writing country songs in 1985. Correct. A young country act was 40,
right.
So I showed up in Mr. Sovine's office. The first thing he asked me, he said, "How old are you, son?" I said, "Oh, I'm 18, but I'm fixing to be 19. I thought, oh, it makes me sound so much older. And he said, "Well, play me some songs." And so I played him 3 songs. And he said, "I'll never forget this. Such a valuable thing." He said, "I'm going to tell you the worst thing I can tell a songwriter, and that's that your songs are real good." He said, "If your songs were great, I'd get it on the phone, help you get a publishing deal. If your songs were not any good, I'd tell you go back to Texas and do something else. But I can't tell you either one. So you go back home to Texas and you write one great song, and I don't care if it takes you 6 weeks or 6 years. I will meet with you one more time. And if you have a great song when you come back here, I'll open some doors for you." And over the years, it's so funny because I guess it's just my attitude. People are going, "Oh my God, were you so discouraged?" I was like, "Shit, no, I was encouraged." I'm like, "Oh, all I got to do is write a great song." So, because I know that sounds like me, doesn't it?
Totally.
So I go home and, I'm 18 and I don't know anything because you're 18, you hadn't lived. But, you know my love of Texas history, and I'm a 7th generation Texan, and I was always just kind of as a music and history buff, just kind of pissed off that no accurate song had been written about the Alamo. So I wanted to write something that's going to be accurate. So I wrote Stout and High.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I mean, what was weird about that, Diane, is that song was so much better than anything else I had written. I mean, it was a breakthrough song for me. I mean, it was so much better to where, like, it kind of scared me a little bit. It was like, oh shit, I can do that, you know? So, so I went back up to Nashville, and I called Mr. Sovine. This was just a couple months later. And I said, I think I got a great one. He said, well, if you do, I'll meet with you again. And I played that song, and I'll never forget. It had about 7 or 8 verses. It was a long damn song, but when I wrote it, when we recorded it, we shortened it down to 4 verses, but I just let it ring out that last chord, and he was just silent like that. And I went, oh no, this is not it. And he just went, boy, he said, son, I will tell you, that's a great effing song. And he got on the phone, and within 6 months, I had my first publishing deal where I was getting paid to write songs. So Stout and High was certainly my, you know, before and after, my first before and after as a songwriter. And after that, I started writing more and better. And within 5 or 6 months, the Wagoneers were together, and we had a whole bunch of songs. But also, you know, when you're in a time of inspiration like that, there's just I just tend to write a whole lot when people are telling you your songs are good. So
right.
that whirlwind from like 85 into 86 into 87 was there was just a big creative rush, and the Wagoneers got together. And once again, Nashville was just starting to sign younger acts, but once again, a younger act was 30 years old at this time. And I'm 19, and the oldest guy in the band is, at that point, would have been 27, you know, 8 years older than me. And you know, when you're 19, 8 years is a lot of years. That's a big difference, right. You know. But so the Wagoneers was, I mean, it's just kind of just a sensation. I mean, there wasn't anything like us at all. Even with Dwight Yoakam and Randy Travis and those younger guys, the Wagoneers had a very rock and roll attitude, phenomenal live show, and by the grace of God, we had a bunch of good songs, you know. So it was a neat deal.
And do you think part of the reason that Stout and High was so special was because of your personal connection to that song?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Personal viewpoint.
The passion is all over that, you know. Yeah. And for me, I knew when I was writing it, most of those guys that fought and died there were closer to my age at the time I wrote it. You know, they were all very young men. So it taught me a whole lot about believing what you're writing and feeling what you're writing for it to be a good song. Now, I have certainly written songs that I don't have a connection to, as I have learned to craft a song over the years. But I can say to this day, and you know, even the ones that have gotten me those awards, those are all personal and honest and true songs. Right.
Yeah. I've talked about this with almost everybody about how when you're writing something or performing something that is so personally authentic, it comes across that way to the audience. And there's a whole different receptive mode that occurs when that's going on.
Oh, I completely believe that. And I even think as a performer or as a writer, if I'm writing something that's true to my experience, it may not be true to the audience's experience, but that spiritual connectivity of just authenticity, I think, is what connects to where, you know, I've performed Stout and High, you know, and other songs that have done well all over the world where nobody speaks English, but the honesty is the common thread. And also that I know is unique to Austin is if you are authentic, you don't have to necessarily, because I know that when I was starting out, I was very authentic and very earnest and maybe not very good, but that authenticity shines through, and Austin is a great place for writers and performers to cultivate that.
Right. Right. And one of the things I've always said about Austin, besides the fact that it's a velvet rut, is that it is not a place to go if you're looking for industry. If you're looking to get signed to a label, if you're looking to shop for management, if that's the course that you're on, Austin is not the best place for you. You need to go to Nashville. You need to go, depending on what your music is, you need to go to another music city. However, if you want to learn how to really be a musician, if you want the band experience of being a leader, of being a sideman, of learning different instrumentations, of having that cross-cultural experience, Austin is absolutely made for you.
Amen. Right. And if you don't have that, very quickly the wolves will, it's like how, a wolf can smell fear. Very quickly, your bullshit will be sussed out and you will be discarded quickly. And I think that's why in Austin you can see, me on a bill with John D. and Kathy Valentine, and because the music has nothing to do with one another, but the authenticity and the truth is a commonality, and that's why you have the same people coming out.
I agree.
Oh boy.
And so on the songwriting vein still, I know that musicians' songs are like their babies, and no one likes to say they have a favorite, but do you?
Well, first of all, every writer I've ever known, their favorite song is their newest one. It is the best one, and it shows the most growth, and has the most potential, But having said that, it's like Just to Hear Your Voice was a huge step up for me as a songwriter on a worldwide scale. The song off the Dangerous Few album, there's a song called Joy that throughout this crazy time has connected with literally millions of people.
Right.
Desperately was the first time I ever, went to #1 on a major chart. It was one of the biggest hits of the year when it came out, and for lack of a better phrase, it gave me a seat at the grown-ups table. And once you have that seat, they never pull it away from you. Having said all that, I owe this entire fabulous 35-year plus ride to Stoughton High, and Stoughton High means something to me that no other song ever will, because I wrote it when I was a kid, and I still get requests for it, and people want the lyric from it, and it's just it's its own thing, and it took me a lot of years to realize how special it was, and that I would go, why, because to break it down, I remember I was talking to a guy one time, Guy Clark, and he loved Stoughton High, and and I said, I mean, it's just, there's like 4 notes in it, and it's just verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and there's nothing really special about it. And Guy just looked at me, and he took a big old hit off a joint, and he goes, "You're out of your fucking mind." So I was like, okay, just let a great song be great and just shut the hell up. So,
Stoughton High is my second favorite song of yours, and I'm a huge fan, as you know. I think your songwriting is superb. But Just to Hear Your Voice will always be my #1.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I say that. I don't know that because you haven't written your last song yet. So
well, thank you. But for as a writer, like Stoughton High was that first. Okay, yeah, man, I can really write. And then I Want to Know Her Again for the Wags was another one of those rung up the ladder songs. But I can say Just to Hear Your Voice as a writer scared me in the same way that Stoughton High did. It's like when I wrote it, I guess I finished it in 91, I guess. And it was so much better than anything I had previously written. I just went, okay, that's the new bar, and I still, I get requests for. You know, it's funny. I was talking to Brandy about, we were talking about Just to Hear Your Voice just the other night. It hasn't yet been a hit. It's been in 2 different movies. It's been in several TV shows, but that thing's been cut 30 times and hadn't yet been a hit. But if something's been cut 30 times, it's a hit song. It just, it hadn't been a hit record yet, you know. Right. But thank you.
You're welcome. And also, who were your influences when you started playing?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I never would have picked up a guitar without Buddy Holly. I first heard his music through my folks' records. My folks were teenagers in the 50s, and Holly was such an influence to me, not just as a writer and as a performer, and such brilliant records, and our voices are similar. I have kind of a soft tenor and all that, but I love that he was from Texas. I love that he was skinny and goofy and wore glasses, and I wore glasses at the time. And so as a kid, it gave me someone with whom I could connect. That you know, there's that one clip of him on the Ed Sullivan Show where all the girls are screaming, and he's got goofy teeth and goofy glasses, and I just went, oh man, I just need to get that job, you know. So right. Holly was a huge influence. Elvis was a huge influence. Johnny Cash. Frank Sinatra. My grandparents had all the Frank Sinatra records. I loved that stuff. I loved Sam Cooke, and I loved Ella Fitzgerald, and so many of those traditional pop vocalists. And then once I got old enough to perform, Chip Kinman of Rank and File was a huge influence on me, and I love that he always was smiling on stage. And I remember talking to him one time. I said, man, you smile all the time, even when you're singing sad songs. And he gave me this great piece of advice. He goes, well, you're not acting out the song. He said, I never make myself smile. He said, but if I'm happy, I'm never going to curtail one. And I would say live, because I had so many opportunities to see him, but Joe Ely is just an enormous influence on me as a performer and a vocalist, and Joe's just, you know, I think Joe Ely is one of the greatest artists of all time. Not to come out of Texas, I don't care if he came out of Mars. He just Joe is just one of my all-time favorites.
Joe was indirectly responsible for me moving to Austin.
Now, okay, now I'm interviewing you. How was that? I've never heard that before.
A DJ friend of mine in upstate New York, you know, I'm from 90 miles south of Montreal, right up there on the Canadian border. And a DJ friend had this album at the radio station, and he said to me, I think you'd like this guy. You need to hear him. Well, of course, we were so stupid that we were calling him Joe Eli. We didn't know it was Eli. Right. And so he was right. I loved it. It was Joe's first album. On the back of Joe's first album, the band is sitting at a table, and behind them is a sign that says there will be no loud talk or bad talk in this place. I wanted to know where that was.
Ah, right on.
And it turned out to be Stubbs Barbecue in Lubbock. Right. Well, when I had the opportunity to move to Austin, that was when I found out that Stubb had moved to Austin. Wow. And so my friend Scott and I, we had come down here to visit my mom, and we had friends that lived in Austin. And so we had come to Austin for a few days to meet them. And they said, oh, we got to take you to this barbecue restaurant, and it has music and it's really cool. And there's this old guy, Stubbs, that runs it. And I was like, Stubb? You mean Stubb from Lubbock? Wow. And so they took us over there, and it was closed. So we were leaving the next day, so we never got to go over. But when we went back to New York, I told Scott right then and there, we're moving back to Austin, or we're moving to Austin, and I am going to go to work for Stubb.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that story.
Was exactly what happened. You know, I was here for a month before Stubb hired me. And I called him. We got here on the 26th of November, I think it was. And on the 27th, I called him and, you know, said, hi, are you accepting applications? And he said, ma'am, we don't have no applications. I said, well, I have a lot of experience. I've done all these things. And I've been a bartender, and I've been a waitress, and I've been a cook, and I've been a dishwasher, and I've done it all. I've been a waitress. And he said, ma'am, I've got more women than I know what to do with. That was the end of it. So I said to Scott, tomorrow we're going over there for coffee. And we did. And we went every day for that week. But the thing was that the second day we were there, we looked at the menu, and at the bottom of the menu, it said, ask about our barbecue jam. And I said to Scott, what do you suppose barbecue jam is? And he said, I don't know. I've never heard of barbecue jam. So the waitress came over. Now, Stub was sitting over at his little table over by the cash register. And so the waitress came over, and I said, can you tell me what does barbecue jam taste like? And she started laughing, and she said, Stub, did you hear that? And he started laughing. And, he had that big guffaw laugh. And he started laughing, and he said, tastes like the blues, ma'am.
Wow.
So he came and sat with us, and within like 2 weeks after that, I was working for him.
That's so awesome. That's so, but he had that thing. It's like,
Joe Ely.
well, but Stubbs, he was so beloved. He loved musicians. He loved musicians coming up, and I would go in there and when he was down here in Austin, or I was there a couple of times. He tried it again up in Lubbock, you remember?
Yep.
And and he would wouldn't matter how big your band was, he was going to feed you, and he wasn't going to charge you.
Yeah. He would never let a musician go hungry, ever.
No.
Yeah.
He said, hey, you want to know what Buddy Holland? He said, Holland. You want to know Buddy Holland's favorite plate? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, whatever I was cooking. So I said, oh, that's great. Just a hungry kid in Lubbock wanted to eat, Very cool.
Absolutely. So, Monte, when you hear young up and coming musicians, what kind of advice do you try to give them?
I get that a lot, and same advice that I was given. Once again, when I first started going to Nashville, for some reason or another, Harlan Howard and Guy Clark kind of took a shine to me and saw how serious I was and really liked my songwriting. And both of them, Harlan Howard is the most decorated writer of all time. He's received more BMI radio awards than any writer in history, more than John Lennon or more than Chuck Berry or anybody. And we all know the career Guy had. And both those cats were always trying to get better. And that's what I tell people is like, if Guy Clark was trying to get better, your ass needs to try and get better. And because it is very easy to, I don't say very easy, but if you get to a point where you're selling out Friday and Saturday at Green Hall, you still need to be trying to get better. And so much of the advice that I just try to get people is, if you're a writer, try to get better. And also, over the past 10 years or something, Dianne, I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of young artists that say I'm just starting to write. I'm trying to write. And I tell people, if you're not a songwriter, don't write, because songwriting is a special talent, and it's kind of a sacred deal. And just because you're in a band does not mean you need to write songs. Elvis never wrote. Frank Sinatra never wrote. Patsy Cline never wrote. Emmylou Harris hardly wrote. And I there's so much emphasis is put on, well, you get started and you write some songs, and that's like, leave the songwriting to the songwriters and the performing to the performers. And sometimes you're both. But it's like Bruce and I were talking several years ago. It's like Buddy Holly ruined it because he did everything. So that became the formula. Is then the Beatles, they did everything, and the Stones and Dylan and Johnny Cash. But I tell people, if you're a great singer and a great performer, and you're not a songwriter, what'll happen is you'll put shitty songs on your record and you'll never go anywhere. There are so many great songs out there. If you're a great singer, then be a great singer. And and if you have something to say, you know, maybe start writing later. But, you know, it's so funny whenever I say that to people, I mean it so sincerely. But songwriting is not for everybody. And as a guy, I've been a professional songwriter my whole life. It is dang near impossible to be a great writer. And, you know, and I tell people all the time, I said, I am a real good songwriter that has written some great songs, but I don't think at any one time there's more than a dozen great songwriters on the walking the earth at any one time. Mm-hmm. So that's my advice. It's not as cheerful as you would think, but it's true. I know it's true.
And I have not really heard anybody espouse that viewpoint before. And, you know, I've always kind of encouraged people to be songwriters because I want them to look forward to that mailbox money someday.
But you have to be good enough to earn that mailbox money. And, and that is, you know, like when I started, when there were like real record labels, there were gatekeepers. There were people that said yes or no. You're good enough. You're not good enough. Go get better. You'll never be good enough. And now, with the information age, and where if you make records, all that means now is you have access to recording equipment. Mm-hmm. Anybody can make a record. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean everybody should, you know. So I tell people, you know, and I know that was borne out certainly when we put the Dangerous Few album out this year. Was the reviews were so over the top about the songwriting, and yeah, it was 12 great songs. I know we wrote a great album, but it was just that it sounded new and it sounded different, and the songs were great. And it is hard to come up with great songs, and unless you have 12 great songs, do not go make a record. I feel, you know, until you have something to say and say it better than anybody else, you don't need to go make a record.
Now, you co-write with your wife, Brandy, sometimes.
Oh, yeah, all the time. She's a brilliant writer. That has been my favorite songwriting relationship of my whole life. She's a brilliant writer.
And, well, of course, she comes from a background of musicians, songwriters herself.
Well, yeah, I mean, Brandy's family, her grandparents wrote the first hit the family ever had in 1958 for Frankie Lane. They wrote Call of the Wild. Her dad wrote Colorado Kool-Aid for Johnny Paycheck and Baby Your Baby for George Strait and Me and the IRS for Johnny Paycheck. Her uncle wrote countless hits. Her great uncle was the very first house engineer at Sun Records. Her great uncle Hot engineered Great Balls of Fire and I Walk the Line and Whole Lot of Shaking Going On and Folsom Prison Blues. And so in Brandy's family, being a songwriter, like you know, I was the first person in my family to be in the music business, Diane. And when I said I was a songwriter, that meant I had access to a pen and paper. In Brandy's family, if you're a songwriter, you hang that stuff on the wall or you're not a writer yet, you know. So she's a brilliant writer. She co-produced the Dangerous Few record. And, you know, you're talking about industry. It's like, you know, a lot of people don't realize Brandy is the most successful publisher in Austin, Texas.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. And so do you have any other people that you like to collaborate with and co-write with?
Oh, yeah. You know, Bruce Robinson and I have been writing together, shoot, almost 30 years. I like to write with Colin Boyd from Dallas. He's a great writer. I've written great songs with him. I like to write with, you know, Mas Palermo. Who, you know, he and I wrote a couple of hits together, wrote Wagoneers' big hit. But here lately, you know, Brandy and I write a whole lot with Floyd Domino. Floyd wrote, I think, 5 songs on the Dangerous Few record with us, and that's been one of our favorite collaborative efforts of my entire life. Floyd is such a brilliant player, such a brilliant human. I mean, he's just like,
Yes.
you know, just a sweet, just, you know, just a mensch, you know, but a brilliant songwriter. And we wrote Martini with him and Everything But Love, and just an incredible songwriter.
Nice. And while we're on the subject, you have a CD out with The Dangerous Few now.
On CD and vinyl.
There you go.
As a matter of fact. Well, you know, the crazy thing is, you know, we put this thing out in June, Diane, and, you know, we were going, what the hell are we going to do? We're going to put a record out in the middle of a dang pandemic. And it charted. It wound up on the first ballot of the Grammys in 6 categories. And what I realized is, when no one else is putting out a record, that's exactly when you should put a record out. Because I don't know if the reviews were based on anything. A lot of it was just, well, nobody else putting out a record. What else are they going to write about? But no, it's been a wonderful thing. And for those of y'all that don't know, I've got this group, Monte Warden, The Dangerous Few. It's all original jazz, traditional pop. And I've always had this vision of this record. But 5 years ago, the Wagoneers were fixing to pick the Continental Club. And I saw Brandy was over talking to Dianne. And they were talking and laughing and pointing at me, and which is common for them to both be laughing at me. And I had just been talking about this project, The Dangerous Few, and that it was going to be jazz and cool and all this. And Brandy came over to me and she said, well, you better put your band together. I said, what band? She goes, the jazz thing. And I said, why is that? She goes, well, Dianne just gave y'all a residency. So the band did not exist, and you had given me a residency at the Continental Gallery.
True enough.
So I called Moss, I called Eric Telford, I called Brent, and I called T. Jared. And I said, okay, we're a band now, because we start the first Thursday in April, which is what we did in 2016. Thanks to you.
Well, I had faith in you, and it worked out great.
It worked out great, but it was, you know, you work your ass off, and you try to get to a point where, you know, people will listen to you. And then I was like, no, shit, this is happening. So this band and its vision and every review and all of that, it is completely owes everything to Dianne Scott.
Oh, gosh.
No, it's true. It's true. It's just like, oh, you know what? So I start, you know, I'm talking to Kevin Curtin at the Cron and Blackstock at the paper, and it's just like, well, tell us about your new project. And I was like, well, we haven't ever played a gig ever. And it's just been incredible, and it has been the greatest artistic experience of my life. It was the biggest artistic leap. I mean, from Whoa Trigger to the Wagoneers, that was, you know, that was not a huge artistic leap.
Right.
This thing, and you know, and to be completely frank about the whole thing, it could have easily just sucked and, you know, had me just land on my ass. You know, it's like that. This was a big old leap. Everybody dug it. Everybody has loved it. And thank you for having that faith in me and Brandy.
You are so very welcome. Because, you know, it's been good for us too, you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I could have landed on my ass. You know, it's
yeah,
like,
you could have. I just didn't think that was going to happen.
that made one of us that night. I was like,
it
oh.
never occurred to me that would happen, actually.
Well, it occurred to me plenty times. So,
well, then you worried enough for both of us.
Amen. Amen.
So, Monte, we have just finished with Thanksgiving, or Friendsgiving, as some are beginning to call it. And so I want to know, what were you most thankful for this year?
Oh, my goodness. I was most thankful for, you know, what I'm always thankful for, my family and my friends. And something else that we all discussed was everyone we know and everyone in our satellite is and has been in good health, and and good mental health too. All of the musician friends I know, we've all been able to, through hook or by crook, continue to stay afloat. And we had very much for, to be thankful. It's one of those things. It's like, you turn on the TV and it's zombie apocalypse and oh my God, and we're headed towards civil war. And then you open up your door and your neighbors are still your neighbors and your friends are still your friends. And it's just, we are very, very blessed.
Amen.
Amen.
Actually, in my circle, I have 9 people so far that have had COVID-19.
Have they been sick from it or they've had it?
They've all had some level of sickness, but none of them have had to be hospitalized.
Good. We know people that have had it, but they haven't been like sick,
Right. One of my friends has actually been to the emergency room for breathing issues a couple of times so far. But he seems to be coming out of it now. Well, Cliff Hargrove.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Cliff.
So
his whole family has it now. But everybody is getting through it fine. And one of my best friends in New York is angry with me because I keep telling her that, Austin is kind of a hotbed and we have to be very careful here. And so, one of my fears is that if I ever ended up with it, it would kill me because I have underlying health issues. My weight, my age are all against me in that respect. And she gets so angry with me because I say that. She says, you have to be positive. I'm like, well, I'm one of the most positive people I know. And I know positively that if I got COVID-19, there's a good chance I'll die from it.
I am positive
I'm not
of that.
being negative, I'm being realistic.
Right. Well, and we've been, and Brandy and I are, very healthy people. And, we run every day and we take good care of ourselves. And so we've been really blessed and know that it's just, it's all so much of it is just luck of the draw too, but we've been blessed. The people in our orbit have been as well. So,
yes.
Knock wood.
And now the Christmas season is coming upon us. And what plans will y'all have for Christmas?
Well, we'll be close to home. We'll be doing the live stream every Friday. And this year, Christmas is on a Friday. So the Monte Warden Feel Good Hour will have a big Christmas thing. And as you well know, our oldest son, Van, is 31 years old and he has Down syndrome. And what is such an amazing blessing when you have somebody with intellectual disabilities or Downs or in your life is it's so much of it is a blessing, but also you always get to have Christmas as if there's a little one around. And Van, today, I saw him today for lunch and he was talking about Santa Claus and what Santa Claus was going to bring him and what he needed. And so we are very blessed. Every year we get to experience the magic of Santa and Christmas, and Van is very much looking forward to that. He wants Santa to bring him some strawberry Pop-Tarts. So I think Santa can make that happen.
He does like food.
He does. Oh, he does. And sweets too, just like his daddy.
When you see Van next, please give him my love.
Oh, I will. And and it's so funny. He says every time I see him twice a week, and every week he goes, "What about the gigs?" And I said, "Well, Vanny boy, the gigs will come back. We don't know when, but they'll be coming back." And then he always says this: "It's so great." He has completely encapsulated everything we're going through in the world. He goes, "The virus is no fun."
Absolutely.
There it is. That's the phrase we've been looking for. The virus is no fun.
Not when it keeps him off the dance floor and from in front of the stage, particularly.
Exactly. Well, and it took several weeks for him to realize nobody was going to the gigs. He was going, "Hey, now wait a minute here." He said, "Will you be at the Few," meaning the Dangerous Few's Thursday residency at the gallery? I said, "No, Vanny boy, nobody's at the gallery right now. There isn't a Dangerous Few gig." So once he realized he wasn't missing any, it was a little easier for him, you know.
So Monte, you know, you've had an extremely successful career,
Very
I
blessed.
believe. And you have had some really special moments that you have been honored. And of those, what is probably your favorite one? What stands out to you?
Oh, doing this with you today.
Oh, of course. I knew that was coming.
You mean second?
It was a loaded question.
It was. Well, all of my training from media school to Carlin, what did you think I was going to say? No, I can honestly say that for me, that's an easy one. And when my song Desperately, you know, I always thought it was going to be when I hung my first gold record on the wall, which I did when Travis Tritt cut a song of mine. But Desperately earned a BMI Millionaire Award, meaning it had been played on the radio 1 million times.
Right.
And of the, whatever it is, 9 million songs that BMI has in their collection, like I think fewer than 2,000 have earned a Millionaire Award. It is, here's the great stat. More people walking the earth today have successfully transplanted the human heart than have a BMI Millionaire Award. And when Desperately earned one of those, off the George Strait hit, I think it was 2007, I think. I knew forever I was a successful songwriter. By any metric, I had earned a BMI Millionaire Award. And that was the moment for me where I realized, okay, this is a neat moment. And I was also old enough to understand when I was in the middle of a neat moment too,
right.
Instead of just
right.
realizing you're going to have those every day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the most special career moment that
right.
I've had.
And how did Desperately get placed with George Strait?
Oh, well, that's there's a great story with that. So Bruce and I wrote this song, and Bruce Robinson and I wrote it when I was going through just my darkest period. I was in a very unwanted, surprising divorce. You know, it was surprising to me. My ex-wife and her boyfriend had been cooking it up for a good while, but I didn't know it was coming. And so I wrote this song, and Bruce and I wrote it in the garage behind their house. We went and played it for Kelly, Kelly Willis, his wife, and she that day said, "Ooh, that's a good song, guys." And Kelly doesn't, you know, that was like a huge compliment coming from Kelly, you know. And so the song was just sat around a few years and put my life back together. I meet Brandy and I fall in love. We get married. She starts her publishing company. And we were all out at dinner at Redneck Lobster on South Lamar celebrating Kelly's birthday. And Brandy said to Bruce, she said, "I have a stupid question. How many times has Desperately been pitched to George Strait?" And Bruce just said, "I have a stupider answer. I think 0. And Brandy said, "There is no way that song has not been pitched to Strait. It's perfect for him." And Bruce said, "I don't think so." So Brandy, the next morning, because George was recording at that time, or fixing to go in, sent that. And back then, it was still hard CDs, and you FedExed them up to Nashville. So we FedExed a CD up to Nashville. And Brandy, because having worked at Decca and MCA, George's record label, was able to get it right to the right people. And they told us immediately, because George was just fixing to go in, George is putting your song on hold, which was this huge thing. And this was a Thursday, and a song has to be on hold before it's recorded, a cut. But a hold really doesn't mean anything. It just means that's the first step.
Right.
And George was fixing to go in. So that was a Thursday. We had all that weekend to dream and scheme and think all wonderful things that, oh, what if this happens, you know? And Monday morning, like at 11 o'clock, I saw 615 come up on the caller ID, and it was MCA Nashville, George's label, and immediately we knew we'd lost our hold, because that's just what happened. You just go, well, And Brandy said, she just come out of the shower. She had her hair up in a towel. She had a robe on. And she said, I can't take the call. You take it. So I took the call. And I was like, oh, okay. And just hung up. And Brandy said, what? And I said, that was A&R department. George cut desperately this morning. And Brandy was in the kitchen, and she was close to the sink, and she threw up in the sink right then. And that's how we knew George had cut the song. Now, the thing that was interesting about it is George never, ever, ever overcut. And he put 10 songs on a record. And he had cut 12 songs. So like for 6 months, we didn't know were we the 2 songs that got cut, that got released from the album. And sure enough, he put all 12 songs on that album. And then it was like a year and a half later, it was released to radio and was a huge hit and changed our lives. But it was just Brandy hearing the song for George when Bruce just had a demo of it, you know? Changed my life. Oh, I know.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes it's just magic.
Oh yeah, sometimes everything just lines up, and it was the last song George heard before he went in the studio, so he got to fall in love with it and didn't have time to fall out of love with it. So it was just perfect, you know.
Well, Monte, our hour has flown by, of course.
Yes, but wait, I have something. There's one other thing.
Okay.
And I've been doing as we've helped to get through this thing is I do handwritten lyrics of my songs. Mm-hmm. And if somebody'd like a handwritten lyric, and we have this one from the song off the Dangerous Few, Joy. I don't do these ahead of time. I just do them as they're ordered. And this one, here's Joy, if somebody wants one of these. And this one says, to Diane, with love, Monte and Brandy, we are putting this in the mail to you tomorrow. Merry Christmas.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Oh my God, I can't wait to get it and frame it and hang it on my heroes wall.
Because there is no Dangerous Few without Dianne Scott. So we're putting Joy in the mail to you tomorrow. We love you so much.
Thank you so much, Monte. Oh my God, this means so much to me too.
To us too.
That's very exciting. That's very exciting.
We love you the most.
And before you go, I want to give a little bit of a commercial here. First of all, if you would like to tip Monte, you can go to paypal.com/paypal.me/Monte, MONTE-WARDEN. Or you can go to Venmo at Monte Warden, MONTE-WARDEN. You can also look for merchandise on your website.
Yes, thedangerousfew.com. Thedangerousfew.com.
And if you would like to support these shows, because I have had to upgrade to Zoom Pro, so that we can talk as long as we want. And that also is a PayPal me /DScott1141. And you can help out the Continental Club Gallery and Seaboys employees by going to our website, www.continentalclub.com/closed. That's the page that'll give you all the information about our closing, any potential reopening, the tip jars for both Houston and Austin. And if you want to buy merchandise, Steve has given us 100% of the profits of merch sales. And you can find that at continentalclub.com/Austin-shop. And also James McMurtry has put out an EP, Blasted from the Past, and 100% of the profits of that are also going to us. And you can find that at bandcamp.com. Blasted from the Past is the name of the CD. And Steve Shook Inc. Has done a Giclee print of the Continental Club. And I will have all of these links on the Facebook pages when I upload the video and also on our YouTube channel. And Patty Griffin has one last residency live stream that happens this Saturday, December 5th. The tickets are $25 and they're on sale now at boxoffice.mandolin.com. And Patty is giving us a portion of the proceeds. She's helping out 18 clubs across the United States with these shows. So we'd love to have you participate. And don't forget, when we're back in business, you want to come and see Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Monte. It's been a real pleasure to get to spend some time with you.
Oh, we miss you and we love you, and this was wonderful, Diane. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Mwah.
Love to Brandy and the kids, too.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for being with us. And this video will be uploaded soon, so you can find it on our Facebook pages or our YouTube channel. See you later. Oh, and next week, Matt Hubbard. So see you next week. Bye.